So hello and welcome to the latest video from Packaging Europe. This is part of our Sustainability Perspective series, which sits alongside our Sustainability Awards and the Sustainability Packaging Summit. Here we talk to leaders from across the packaging value chain to gain insights into the industry's path to sustainability. Today I'm speaking with Niels Christian Schou, Director of Marketing Excellence at Avery Dennison, and we will be discussing their circular program. Niels, thank you for speaking with me today. Can you please start by giving an overview of the circular program for our audience?
Yes, happy to do so, and thank you very much for having me. The ADC program, Avery Dennison Circular Program, is quite simply a program that we have established and launched in February this year, 21, with the intention of doing we call it an unbiased but collection scheme for the liner waste that is generated by our customers, so the brand owners in the industry. So basically a circular program for liner waste.
That's great. And what, in your opinion, was the need for this type of program in the industry?
The need is obviously that we all talk about circularity, the fact that we have to do something to achieve. We have an aim in Avery Dennison to achieve 100% recycled material in the products we sell. But to be able to achieve that, we need access to recycled materials. And we have to take our own medicine. So by that, we need to go out and start collecting the waste that we as an industry generate. The need is also there because the questions came to us from industry partners. What can you offer? What are you doing about this challenge? If you look to the total amount of liners being put into the industry, combined from tapes and graphics and pressure sensitives, it's in the magnitude of 607,000 tons of liner waste that goes into the European space a year. So there's quite significant amount of volumes out there, which in principle is good quality materials that to most ends just goes to waste, land waste or incineration.
Yeah. And will all liners be able to be recycled through this new program?
All liners consisting of traditional glassine, so paper liners, and PET liners. Currently, we don't have an offering for PPs, but PP liners currently is a very small proportion of the total. But glassine and PET, yes, can be recycled regardless of origin. Whoever produced it, we collect it.
Okay, and can you tell me a little bit about, the goals and expected impacts of the program, and also, a bit about the key challenges that you have faced in developing the program?
In terms of the goals, we set up the program with the very ambitious goal to collect 75% of all liners that we put into the industry. And as an industry leader, that's quite significant volumes we put out there. So ultimately, in the 5-year span by 2025, the intention is collect 75% of whatever we put out. Some of the challenges that we had, firstly, the speed. We agreed by August that we wanted this, and by Feb we went live with a bespoke IT platform. But surprisingly enough, the main challenges was the legislation element of it. Transporting waste, as it's called, is actually perceived as being hazardous waste, which it isn't. It's just clean paper and clean PET. So getting the licenses, the broker licenses in place that allows us to transport waste across countries, even within the European Union, actually was one of the big obstacles we had to overcome. So that was the first one.
Yeah. And as far as, kind of what your goals are, then the kind of expected impacts of this program, how do you, what are the goals and what do you envision to be the impacts of it?
The impact of it is, of course, that we would love to be able to offer our customer, the brand owners, a true circular solution so that they can buy a product pressure sensitive and argue that the wastes that where from the liner comes is some of their own materials they have circulated. Currently, we're not there yet. We still need critical mass, but that's the ideal state. And then, of course, to have it completely roll out in all European countries. We have by choice chosen to launch this in currently 12 countries. We're active in 12 European countries, and we do get quite a lot of inquiries from countries. Recently had a very good discussion with a Norwegian partner about it, but we have to achieve critical mass. It's a little bit about like walking before we start running on this one. So we are learning from the mistakes we're making, but also the successes. And then from there on, we will ramp it up. But we are looking at least one more year ahead before we start opening up for more countries.
Yeah. And so you have opened up to more countries, because I know that, a few months ago it was 8 countries and now you say it's 12. So it is opening up to the rest of Europe, right?
Yes. I'm very adamant on this one until someone convinces me otherwise. If we have a strong business case, my colleagues in sales come to me and saying we have very strong pull from this and this sales area, this and this region, I do go and investigate, and we do open. And that for that, I can correct myself in saying we now have 12. We had 8 to 9 some months ago.
Yeah,
but
and
it stops there. It's my plan.
Yeah, and what steps do companies have to take to actually get involved with the program?
I think it's it's mostly mental. A mental decision, a choice to go out and do liner recycling. There's a lot of talk about doing the right thing from a lot of companies. When you then experience the real world, where we then arrive and talk to the people in the warehouses, there's not always a full correlation between what is being publicly announced and then what happens in practice. But in terms of practical steps, it's very easy. We created the bespoke platform where you go in and you add your credentials, where you're based, how much tonnage do we expect to have, and how frequently do we want us to collect it. Once that's done, we forward the collection boxes to your location of choice or more. If you have, let's just say it's Niels' company, but I have 3 production sites, we can service all 3 production sites. And then once these boxes are filled with the liner waste, we then get an email via the portal saying, come and collect. We will then allow ourselves a little bit of flexibility. We are trying to optimize for the right reasons, both financially, but mostly because of the emissions. We don't want to send a truck to, say, Berlin and collect something on a Monday and then have to go again on a Tuesday. So we're trying to combine it into what we call milk runs. But simply said, use the portal, enter your credentials, and you will get an email saying thank you and when do we deliver the boxes.
Yeah, and in terms of cost, how does AD Circular compare to, say, what companies are currently paying to dispose of their labels?
Before we launched it, we did I won't call it scientific, but a fairly healthy study into what is being done currently on industrial waste collection. And we found that the prices we are giving, we have 3 levels of price. We call them gold, silver, and standard or basis. For the basis model, you pay a little bit above what you would pay for industrial collection of your normal industrial waste from your normal production. But if you go for silver or gold in most instances will actually be a tad cheaper than normal industrial disposal of your waste. So we are trying to match industrial waste to overcome that objection, saying, why should we pay? But you are not paying more, but you're doing the right thing with the materials. The difference between our programs and what else out there is that we do charge, but we also collect, I call it anything from anyone, anywhere, which my legal team will tell me is not fully true. So I have a disclaimer on that. But the minimum is 3 pallets. And in the countries I mentioned, we don't differ if you buy from company X, Y, or Z. We don't ask you from whom did you buy your materials, which is your supplier, and so forth. We don't care. So you can actually be a completely non-Avery Dennison customer and be 100% signed up to the ADC program. We don't ask.
Yeah. And I think you touched upon this a little bit earlier, but looking ahead, are there any plans to expand the program worldwide? And how do you envision that it will evolve in the future?
The AD Circular program in Europe is similar to a collection scheme, but if you reach out to my colleagues in the US and Asia Pacific, we do have an ADC umbrella which talks about circularity in general terms. In the US, we have a program called Roadrunner, which is actually more a matrix waste collection scheme. We have monthly calls between my counterpart in the US and my team here discussing pros and cons. And we are now learning a bit from them on matrix recycling, which we are now dipping our toes into. We're doing trials right now in Germany. They are then testing abilities to do liner recycling. The US market is different than EU and vice versa. I have a call scheduled for later this week with a colleague in Vietnam about liner recycling. So absolutely. I can't vouch for Avery Dennison completely going to run this out, but my colleagues and the markets are highly interested in it. absolutely.
Yeah. And how, looking ahead into the future, other than, expansion, as far as, the impact and, what your hopes for this are in the future, can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah. Avery Dennison are one of the founding fathers and mothers of CLAB. And CLAB as an industry organization has been founded together with other industry players to formulate a joint solution on the waste stream challenges, both liners and matrix. And we are both investing but also supporting heavily the efforts of CLAB. In an ideal world, users should actually not care about where they buy the materials from. They should just be able to recycle it into a stream. So my vision for this one is that at one point we can move the Avery Dennison away from the circular and just call it a circular program. We're doing it because we have to service our customers and there wasn't fully a model available for us. We now build our own, but as I said, it should be unbiased. We should actually just make it neutral, just have your waste collected. And as I told you, we have an intention of 75% of whatever we send out to be collected. And I think we should do that as a business in Europe, to do that for all waste. So my model and my hope is that we are so successful, not successful financially because it's quite costly. So we are not going to be successful financially, but in terms of reaching the circularity levels, that this will really generate a possibility to do a true circular loop back into customers, saying these liners are coming from collected waste that you generated, so we can close the loop on this one.
Okay, great. Well, those were all my questions for you, unless you have anything else to tell our audience. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was really good to have you. Thank you for making the time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.